Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome in to the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. We are here for a very special mailbag episode, Mac. Now, before we get into all that, and we appreciate everybody's questions, we did just release a very special episode yesterday on Wednesday. Mac, tell the people what they've won with Wednesday's episode if they listen.
Right. Well, what you want is 4 episodes this week. We're jam-packed.
Yeah, come
on. Come on. We're rolling. Somehow KG's at Media Day. We're doing all these different things, and we fit in 4 episodes in the busiest week of her professional life so far to this year. So love that for us. KG, you're a trooper for working so hard. And we're breaking down Clemson basketball, y'all. Come on. The Asheville Championship is coming up. You can get your tickets still. It's a loaded tournament. Clemson's playing in it. So we wanted to do a little in-depth, super deep dive on the Tigers. So if you missed that, go check it out. We were live in Little John. It was really amazing. Had some great people help us out there to get that done, and great interviews, man. Super insightful. So I had so much fun with that, KG. I know you did, but I got to live out my dream as a Hooper analyst, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
You did a good job, Mac. You really did. And of course, don't worry, this is still very much a football podcast, but Ingles is helping put on this amazing tournament. So we had to talk a little hoops, and we loved it. PJ Hall, and I know there are some Clemson fans listening and just ACC fans in general who are ready for hoops. PJ Hall said that this is a team that he thinks can win the league. So could this be a year, Mac, in which Clemson is barely bowl eligible, but wins the league in basketball? I don't even know.
It would make sense.
What world that would be. So let's get to a message from Ingles about this awesome tournament, and then to your football questions.
College basketball is kicking off with the Asheville Championship at the Harris Cherokee Center, Asheville, on November 10th and 12th, featuring my Clemson Tigers, Maryland, Davidson, and UAB. Tickets are on sale now at AshevilleChampionship.com. Save your spot, cheer on your team at the Asheville Championship, November 10th and 12th. Again, that's AshevilleChampionship.com. Get your tickets today.
Mac, let's go get our mail. Let's open some mail. We appreciate everybody who sent questions. We got quite a few questions here and about a bunch of different teams. So we're going to talk a little Florida State, some Clemson, some North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Virginia. Those were the main teams we got questions on, but also just the bigger picture as well. So let's start with this question from Rich N. He says, who has the best chance to meet Florida State in the ACC Championship game?
Wow.
Now, if you're just assuming Florida State's there, which I think, right now is a pretty safe bet, Mac, if you are projecting forward, especially with North Carolina losing to Virginia, so there are no longer any undefeated teams in the league besides Florida State.
Yeah.
What's your first thought as to who's going to meet Florida State in the ACC Championship game?
Knee-jerk reaction, I still think North Carolina. But is North Carolina about to start their normal, typical slide where everybody's like, what the heck is happening? I hope not. It's a little early for that compared to last year. But
not even November yet.
Maybe. Right. I know. It would be terrifying. The good thing is we will have a lot more insight on this because Duke and Louisville play this weekend. That is essentially an elimination game to where, kind of winner of that moves on. And if it's Louisville, that obviously adds a little bit of a wrinkle because they do not play Florida State. They do not play Carolina in the entire season. So, that kind of gives them a free pass. If Duke is the winner, then it puts kind of all chips in on that North Carolina Duke game. And that becomes winner goes to Charlotte, essentially. There's some other things that, of course, have to happen and can happen. But that would be fascinating. If it did come down to that game, my gosh, how much juice. We're talking about basketball, 2 basketball schools, duking it out to who goes to the championship there. So that would be amazing to see. But do not forget about sneaky old Virginia Tech sitting there with 1 loss in the ACC, have really turned it around and turned it up. Those guys, I can't wait. And of course, you guys will see that later tonight, Thursday night football, where the Hokies welcome Syracuse to Lane Stadium. That place is going to be jumping. At this point, Virginia Tech is a 3-point favorite. I think they roll. I think this kind of starts their eyes at Charlotte. They get a big W here. So with all of that in mind, those kind of 4 teams, I think, kind of have their hand in the pot there, 5 teams. I still am going to go with North Carolina. Drake May and company, please don't make me look silly and lose to Georgia Tech this weekend. Please. What about you, though, Casey? What do you think? What do you think there?
We have a question about North Carolina. We also got a question about Virginia Tech and their ACC Championship chances.
Answer.
So we will get to that. When we look at UNC, Mac, and look at what they have left, they are at Georgia Tech this weekend. The huddle will be there. Campbell, Duke, the game you are talking about on 11/11, at Clemson, at NC State. So you finish with 2 road games against 2 teams that honestly you've struggled with in recent years. And, a Clemson team that's still talented. I mean, we'll get to that. So I think UNC's schedule is pretty unforgiving, Mac.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying about Louisville. If the last thing from Louisville hadn't been the Pitt game, you'd be thinking, Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if Louisville can bounce back, right the ship, I think they have the best path. They have the easiest path, as you were saying. Here's my other question, though. When you look at Virginia Tech, that's very interesting. I mean, when I think of, look, Miami's probably good enough to be in this discussion, but they already have 2 losses. They only have 1 ACC win. If Louisville, UNC, and Duke all lose again, Miami still has the loss to North Carolina. So that's really tough for them to even be in the discussion.
Yeah.
My issue with Virginia Tech, and I'm going to say all of this to say I think Louisville probably has the best chance, even though they looked so bad against Pittsburgh. But I don't like North Carolina finishing with those 2 road games against league teams that have given them fits. Plus they have Duke. And for Virginia Tech, I don't like that 3 of their last 5 games are on the road. And once they play Syracuse, 3 of the last 4 are on the road. And Virginia Tech is 3-1 at home and have not won on the road.
Yeah.
So that worries me for the Hokies. So I think it's Louisville. I really do. I think Louisville, not mature enough as a program to go to Pitt and handle their business. You have the bye week. I think Jeff Brom is going to get these guys right. That was just an unfortunate game where, kind of a disaster all around. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I'm really down on UNC with what I just saw.
Oh, no. The Orioles are out. They're done.
No, they're not out,
like
but
that.
Their schedule doesn't do them any favors, Mac.
No, it's brutal. It's brutal. So I think theirs is for sure the hardest. I will say I think Virginia Tech is the easiest remaining. When you look at who they play,
it's just those
where
road
they
games.
play. Yeah, but, at Louisville, a little bit crazy.
That's a good point.
At BC, whatever. They're a tough team. And then at Virginia, I can't wait to see it. If that happens and Eddie Royal's Hokies are in Charlotte, he will be unbearable. He'll be unbearable, but I'll be excited. I mean, I love Virginia Tech and think that'll be super fun. So that will be crazy. What a crazy, crazy thing that could be.
Well, and you just mentioned it too. The Virginia Tech Louisville game on November 4th is going to be huge. And
maybe it's a play-in game. Maybe we have a couple of play-in games.
We do. Or playoff game. I guess playoff for the ACC Championship.
Playoffs.
Playoffs. Because, again, Virginia Tech has just been so bad on the road. I don't see them going to Louisville and winning. That's another reason why. I think Louisville still has the best chance, Mac. Crazy enough.
We'll see. I will feel better about that after this weekend, for sure.
Well, we just kind of addressed our Virginia Tech question here. So let's talk a little more about the Hokies before we get back to Florida State. This is from Hokie Nation 5423 on Twitter. By the way, I love that name because 5423 is my son's birthday. That's really cool.
Boom, boom.
Okay. Maybe they have a son born on 5423. That's right. Virginia Tech says, how do you see the Hokies since the first game? Improving? And what are the odds they win out and head to Charlotte? That, of course, is the question that we just talked about. As Max said, the schedule is manageable, but I do not like all the road games. So I don't think they went out.
Yeah.
But this team's going bowling, Mac. And for me, the improvement, the difference, it definitely starts with Kyron Drones and the different elements that he has brought. He's been their leading rusher in 3 of their last 5 games. Yeah. He's been great, especially in Lane Stadium. The other thing that I've seen in the 2 ACC wins, 7 sacks against Wake, 4 sacks against Pitt. We've seen this Hokie defense kind of come alive.
And I think that's what is just super impressive, right? When you look at that and how this team got better very quickly, the things that they did to Pitt, I mean, absolutely shutting down the run. Same thing to Wake Forest, having all those sacks, getting after the quarterback. You got Florida State in there that's, a 21-point anomaly. We're not going to look at that, 22 points. And you look there at who those guys are playing moving forward. a banged up Syracuse team, as I said, tonight. Interesting to see what happens there. Then you're at Louisville. That is a massive game. And you look at how the styles play, styles make fights type of thing. I've heard that it feels like a million times this week. And then at a Boston College team that I think BC and VT very similar, where you kind of landed on a quarterback finally, super mobile guy that can do, I think Castellanos a little bit better and has a better arm. But man, I think you have a way better defense. So that's going to make, for a really great game there. NC State, we'll find out more about them this weekend. And then at Virginia, who knows what that game could look like, but you've owned it recently. And so can you continue to do that at Virginia? And could that be a playing game? Could you imagine if it came down to where Virginia wins all these games in a row and then Tony Muskett is standing there and says, "No, sir, y'all ain't going to Charlotte. See you later."
That would be so fitting.
It would be nuts. So I like your chances, though. I really do. And this team has really played at a high level. And man, it's been, I love to see progress. I love to see teams improve, figure out who they are. And Virginia Tech certainly has done that.
Great signs from Virginia Tech. I mean, you're headed in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's all you can ask for right now, if you're Hokie fans, to perhaps make a bowl. And now we're talking about Charlotte to just even be in the mix.
Right. Hey, we're saying, I'm saying all this stuff, KG, and they won't go bowling. That'll just drive me insane.
No. I don't think so. Like you said, this schedule, yes, there are games on the road, but you're going to find enough wins here. And now we're jinxing them. We're totally jinxing them.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Okay, let's get back to some of these Florida State questions. This is a great one from All Sports Fan 24. Will FSU make the playoff this year? Mac, we don't even have the playoff rankings yet, but we're getting close.
Right.
It's October 25th, 26th, depending on when you're listening tomorrow. We're recording this the day before. When you look at the rankings overall, if Georgia's undefeated, Michigan's undefeated as they continue to steal signs, Ohio State's undefeated, Florida State's undefeated, Washington's undefeated, Oklahoma's undefeated. You know that Ohio State and Michigan will play each other.
Yeah.
And maybe twice. We don't know. No, they still have divisions in the Big Ten. They will play each other once, and then you'll see whatever terrible team from the other division. Georgia has not looked invincible. Brock Bowers out. That's interesting. Washington has looked really good. You could argue they should be ranked higher than 5th. Oklahoma almost lost to Central Florida. Mac, I think Florida State's chances of making the playoff are very good. And maybe besides Georgia, the best in the country. When you look at their schedule remaining, the opponents they have left, and just how the rest of the world is shaking up. So behind Georgia, I would put Florida State at number 2 with playoff chances right now.
You know, it's interesting that you kind of say that. And I like that you put it there with playoff chances. I thought you were going to say where you think they're going to fall when these first rankings come out.
That's interesting.
Here's the deal. We have spoke to Boo Corrigan on the huddle. He's the chairman of this deal for one more year. And based on things that he has said and the things that they look at and what's important, they're not looking at the AP poll, allegedly. They don't care about it. They're not. If that is true, and if they are looking at strength of schedule, strength of record, opponents, margin, all these different things, if that is true, KG, Florida State will be ahead of not only Georgia, but also Michigan, if that is true. So we'll come to find out. And I think Ohio State will be. I think that Washington will be, maybe even Oklahoma. So we'll find out a ton very quickly. But yeah, I mean, even if you're undefeated, for sure, you're in, like no questions asked. I think even if you stumble somewhere, a one-loss ACC champion is in. It hasn't ever not happened.
No, I hear you. You're right.
And I've got to think that other people stumble. Now, listen, if there's 4 undefeated teams, I mean, you're just out. Sure. Sorry. I mean, the league's not that strong where we've got like 5 top 3 or top 5 teams, just sitting there waiting, and you can point a strength of schedule, all these things. So I do think, though, the way that the season is probably going to go, a one-loss ACC champion versus a one-loss Pac-12 champion, I probably lean the ACC, but we'll see. It's going to be fascinating.
I would too, but Washington also has a very good resume so far.
Sure.
And if they slip up and they win, the thing that worries me if you are a one-loss ACC champion is the whole Michigan-Ohio State of it all.
Yeah.
If they play, because we've seen it, we've seen a one-loss Ohio State get in without winning the Big Ten. So if whoever wins that game goes on to win the Big Ten.
There was no one-loss ACC champion. So I will say it was the perfect storm for those guys.
Well, no, I think that year it was probably Clemson that got in.
2 losses. You're talking about last year. It just happened, didn't it?
Wait, what?
Michigan and Ohio State, when they both got in last year.
Oh, I see what
there
you're
was
saying.
no
Okay.
one-loss ACC champ. So it was like the perfect year to do that.
No,
is what I'm
you're
saying.
right. Oh my gosh. I forgot Ohio State made the playoff last year. I totally forgot that. And they almost beat Georgia.
Should have.
It's all
They
coming
were
back to me now.
away. Injury away.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you for if
You're
you're
in
watching on
basketball
YouTube.
mode. You're in basketball
You saw
mode.
my
I get it.
face and my brain trying to compute that. But yes, they did both make it. I thought you were thinking about the time before that Ohio State made it without winning the Big Ten. Okay, very good, Mac. Thank you. So we both think FSU obviously has a very, very good chance. Before we get to one of those games on FSU's schedule, here's a question from Tiger Paws 20. And I find this interesting, Mac, that the Twitter handle is Tiger Paws 20, but he says, as an FSU fan. I don't know what's going on there. But
Double agent.
He says, what is the secret to a good culture? As an FSU fan, I find the differences between Jimbo, Taggart, and Norvell fascinating, especially in this new NIL portal era we are living in. That's really interesting because when you think of Florida State's last 3 coaches, is there anything similar between them at all? I mean, they've all been pretty different. And Jimbo had success. I'm not sure he had the best culture.
Sure.
Willie Taggart did not have success. Again, maybe that's telling on his culture. Norvell has had very good success and a good culture. So, Mac, as someone who was a part of a great culture at Clemson, what is the secret to a good culture?
Yeah, I have to think. I know at least for Jimbo, I'm not sure about Taggart, but I would think that Jimbo and Norvell, like they love their players, right? And really were invested in them. Like I've heard EJ tell so many stories about Jimbo and all those different things. So I will say that again. Don't know about Taggart at all. Never met him. Never spoke to him. But with Norvell, it's just all the little things matter. The passion is there. He's super cerebral guy. I mean, it was funny, KG. I probably didn't feel as strongly as I do about him until I met him, until I went to practice and saw like how much that dude loves his team and, just the passion that he puts in. Nobody coaches harder on that entire staff than Coach Norvell. And I mean, that was at pre-camp practice. This is during the season practice. I mean, the dude gets after it, loves ball. And, I think that there's nothing that he would ask of a player or a staff member, coaching staff, that he wouldn't do or has not already done, where he, kind of has the standard right here of where he thinks that people should be. And to me, that has just been a beautiful thing. And, it is funny too. I go back and think, like 2 years ago where his coaching tenure did not start off great. I mean, it's in the middle of COVID and, all these different things came out and miscommunication. Yeah. Weird stuff. And then now it's like every person you talk to, when you ask about the success of the team, how are you guys doing this? How are you doing that? But whether we talk to Jordan Travis, Jared Verse, Dylan Gibbons last year, anybody that you talk to, they immediately say Coach Norvell. Like he just, for whatever, however, gets it done. And so I love to see that from him. I think that there is truly something about playing for each other within that in a time where, they're bringing in a lot of guys and they have to meld that team quick, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you see the caliber of athlete, but also the importance of the positions. I mean, you look at their touchdowns. I don't even know if one has been scored by a guy that didn't transfer in. So it's something where you've got to get it and you've got to get it quick and you have to buy into what they're doing. And obviously doing it at a super successful clip.
Wow. It's a good point. So, Mac, if I were to ask you what's the secret to a good culture, do you think, because you talk about this a lot, the playing for each other, where you want to go out there and, not miss your block because you want to do it for the guy next to you. Yeah. Would you say that's, I mean, that's a massive question. What's the secret to a good culture? But is that where it starts?
I think so. I mean, I think a genuine appreciation for everyone's job, like understanding, hey, if I'm in at wide receiver and we're running an outside zone play, my block is just as vital and just as important as the right tackles or the left, whichever way we're going. And you have to understand that and you have to believe that and you have to want to block your tail off. And I think that's where, selflessness and all these different things come in. So really to boil it, to peel everything away and to look at, do I care about what you do and think it's as important as what I do? And if that answer is yes, then we're going to be a really, really good team because you understand everybody might have different jobs, but the same value. And I think that that's super important for a team.
Mac, you're preaching right there. That's good stuff. Different jobs, same value. I like that a lot. Okay, let's get to our last kind of FSU-based question here. Kelly and Eric, longtime listener, first-time caller. We appreciate that. This is from Paul. Florida State Wake looks like a trap game. Seminoles have had trouble with them recently. You think it's too big of a line, or will they smoke them? The line at this point is 20.5.
We got a line question. I love this.
Because, Mac, and you keep bringing it up, that Wake has had a lot of success recently against Florida State.
Yeah. No question about it. And I mean, you look at the struggles that they've given them last year. This is a Florida State team that we're like, hey, they're doing something. They're doing it big. They've got a ranked Wake Forest, that they have up next. Can't beat them. Can't even think about beating them. And those guys really dominate. The difference in this year, not just Wake Forest not playing very good.
Difference.
But Sam Hartman ain't there, right? Like that dude is such a difference maker. He's gone. Florida State ascended very quickly in the players that they have. I feel pretty confident about 20.5. We'll talk about this more tomorrow on Friday's episode, but I think if it was a little high, like if it was 24, like 23, which UNC was a week ago against a conference opponent and lost, I would feel a little bit better about that. But I think FSU is just a different place right now. I think they're a different team. I think they understand what's kind of in front of them. And even, I mean, we saw it against that Duke team. It was wear you down, wear you down, wear you down. Our wear you down's not enough. Boom, 21 points in the fourth quarter. So I could easily see something like that happening if it even got to that. If not, this game might get ugly really quick.
Interesting. This game is at Wake.
Yeah.
This game is a noon game. And Wake is coming off a win that I'm sure has completely rejuvenized their locker room.
Sure.
So there are those factors, Matt.
So you see that spear walk out of the locker room.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I think I would still lean towards Florida State covering. I don't trust Wake.
Okay, good.
Enough. So I don't think it's a trap game. I mean, look, if we're going to talk about recent history mattering, then Florida State shouldn't have beat Clemson.
Sure.
I'm not sure how much that matters.
And I think it not being a trap game is less about Wake and more about Florida State, more about that culture, more about that understanding what we have in front of us. Like, let's not be a North Carolina and fall to the wayside and think we're just going to cruise to a game. I don't see that happening with this team. I just don't.
And
I think they got it out of the way. I think they got it out of the way with Boston
BC,
College and Clemson. Yeah, I think they're done with that.
And with the Clemson game, since then, they've blown everybody out, basically. I mean, Duke, closer, back to recover, which we hate to see. But they've really controlled these games. And it's not like they have a big game after Wake. They have Pitt. I almost think at Pitt could be more of a trap game because you have Miami the next week.
Yeah.
And, I mean.
I hope they can say, hey, did you see Louisville? Did you see that?
Exactly.
That better not be you. So shout out to Louisville for getting that done for Florida State.
I think that's more the trap game. Okay, we have a few Clemson questions we'd like to address here, folks. Let's start with this one from Zach R2 on Twitter.
Come on, Zach.
Who is most at fault for Clemson's struggles this season? Well, it's obviously Eric McLean. And secondly, more importantly...
I was going to say that. You stole my thunder. That's amazing.
Obviously
That's so funny.
More importantly, what changes have to happen to keep this letdown from happening next season?
Shout out Zach R2D2 looking boy. Here's the deal. Who's at fault?
Starts at the top, doesn't it?
Who's at fault? It's interesting. $11 million man. Y'all are seeing me figure this out live.
Back, why don't hear?
I think it's easy to say that. Go ahead. Go ahead and lay out your case here.
I have less at stake here. Okay, I didn't play for the program, so Mac, you're never gonna find Mac, for no reason or without fully thinking it through, criticizing a guy like Coach Sweeney who gave Mac such opportunities.
Sure.
I mean, I totally understand that.
No doubt.
All right, here's what I'm gonna say. This is what I wrote down. I think the number one, who's most at fault or what changes have to be made. I think accountability is number one. It feels like some things have been left to slide, you know? Some things that would never fly a couple years ago are flying. I don't know if that really works. But things like Kate Klubnik calling his own number when his job was to hand the ball off. Should he start this week? Like that,
Yeah.
if in basketball, you do that, you're not starting the next game. But we all know quarterback's different, Mac. I know. I think back to Will Shipley screaming at CJ Spiller on the sideline, his coach. I had never seen that happen before. Mac, maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me.
Sure.
But the accountability there and all the fumbles too, it seems to me there has to be some accountability. I don't know the specific game and I don't remember the specific running back. So this is kind of a useless thought, but I remember a running back fumbling at some point in recent history and he didn't play the rest of the game for Clemson. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So I think accountability is number one. I think not being so set in your ways, being open to some of these new resources that we have. And maybe that's not necessarily the portal. Maybe that's other stuff. Maybe that's using certain NIL things to get guys in the portal. I don't know the ins and outs there, but I think just being open to this new world that we're in, that's very important. And that probably starts from the top down. And then my last one is ball security drills. I think that'd fix everything. Go ahead, Mac.
That's a great one. That last one, because that is true. Whoever schedules that, you think how differently the season would be if you just protect
all
the
of
ball.
Spring ball is just ball security.
Just every period. That's all you do. Meetings, like you never don't have a ball. Throughout you wake up, grab your ball.
Drills, you got to hold the ball.
Yeah, the whole time. That's fascinating, actually. I mean, I think you go to the top. I mean, that's the point, right? That's why you're the head coach. It comes with the territory. When things are bad, it's all your fault. When things are good, it's everybody else's because of. And so I think that's fair. And certainly with just different changes and things and lack thereof at times. And I mean, I've said this many, many times. Coach Sweeney's best attribute is also his greatest weakness, and that is loyalty. And that is, a guy comes in, even a guy like myself is a great example. If I was at Alabama or a Georgia, I don't know if I have 5 years to develop. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if I'm asked to leave or told to leave or someone else tells you to leave. I'm not saying necessarily as a head guy. By year 3, if I'm not ready and producing, and somebody else is, coming in the wayside, coach will never do that. He never will do that. If you break a team rule and if you're a crappy person and don't go to class and, just blatantly try to do things the wrong way, he'll kick you out. No problem. But if you do everything right and they just missed and you're just not good, they'll keep you. You're there until you graduate. That's his promise to you. It's his promise to your parents. And, I think in a transactional transfer portal, changing hands quickly type of world, if you get caught with one extra scholarship that now you can't go out and get 5 new people, a brand new offensive line, a new receiving core, and things like this, quarterback competition, that can bite you because of your loyalty. And so I think that it is fair to say that it obviously starts there. But to me, and I heard this the other day, KG, it's almost like there are so many teeny little problems that are happening that if you over focus on one or if you pull too hard on one, everything explodes. And so it's this really weird, like the attention to detail, the ball security, the all those different things that you just didn't quite frankly see, at least at the rate that you're seeing it is a big issue and something that I don't know if it's fixable in a season. I don't know if that's something that takes time and takes, discipline and effort. The good thing is silver lining is if you're, a Clemson player or coach or fan, you play again this week and it's a new chance to try to right the ship or to keep on sinking. One or two. What do you want to do? Get the water out of the boat or just let it go. It'll be fascinating, honestly, to see Clemson's decision kind of personally within that.
I love everything you said there, Mac. I'm going to push back on one thing when you talk about not kicking guys out, which, I love because this is still amateur athletics at the end of the day. But when someone transfers on their own volition, can't you use that scholarship in the portal? Because it's
Yes,
not something you're planning
but
for.
not when Tyler Davis comes back. Not
Sure.
when Ruke Ororo
When
comes
guys are
back.
using all these COVID years.
Yes. That is one of the biggest issues. Clemson didn't have room. They had one, and they went and got Paul Tyson. That's what they did with it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a different world. And truly,
Are there
this
guys on
is,
scholarship that maybe shouldn't be on scholarship, though?
well, that's a different question. I would need to see
No,
who it is.
not recruited guys. Do you get what
Walk
I'm
on,
saying?
just guys have been kind of awarded that, or
Yeah.
sure. And I don't know those numbers. I can
Yeah.
tell you just kind of from a inside baseball thinks it. I'm sure other people might think that too. The way that coach kind of does the walk on thing, at least for guys that like aren't really, really playing, like that are, Hunter Renfro's that have elevated from walk on to at least two deep. He will use those type of scholarships in the spring and summer. Like if someone does leave early, that whether they transfer or go to the league, unless you go get somebody,
I was
and
going
that
to say, but
scholarship is just sitting there,
the
then
portal is
he'll award
open.
those guys. Well, I'm saying he'll award those guys for like a semester, and then the incoming freshman comes in. That's really their scholarship. Does that make sense? That's how I've seen him kind of do it in the past. Yeah, no question. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Clemson needs to go to the portal for a lot of different things. I am not saying that at all. I'm just saying to go to the portal, you do have to have somewhere to go. You have to have a scholarship to give somebody.
And it is a valid point that Dabo's not kicking guys out or telling them to move on like Coach Prime. So
maybe he should. I don't know.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Kind of joking. Kind of serious.
Okay, our last Clemson question here, and kind of you were alluding to this, Mac. This is what Mitchell Bragg says on Twitter. They've had their share of struggles and had probably their worst game against Miami. What are your thoughts on how Clemson's O-line has played so far this season? What can they do to get better and improve? I think he's asking this one to you, Coach Mac Lane.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Thank you for the memory jog. I want to address this because this is hilarious to me. I've had KG, I don't even know the number, countless people saying, Mac, we need you back to coach the O-line. We need you in there. Coach them boys up. This is the deal. I will never do that unless I'm paying millions of dollars. I will never
because y'all crazy.
Because you know why? Because y'all just going to say I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing as soon as I get there. I'm not doing that. That's asinine. We'll never do that. And here's the other deal about Coach Austin. He is a genius. That dude came in my senior year, and I learned more from him than I did, it felt like, my entire deal, just because he simplified things and made it easier for me. Now, maybe that's because I wasn't an offensive lineman my whole career and my whole life. That was the first time I ever played the position. But he just put in the extra work, put in the extra time, and taught me things that I didn't know. And so for me, the cerebral part ain't an issue at all, to what I'm thinking. And for people, this isn't really the question, but it kind of is. I think that for all these people who are saying this guy should be fired and he doesn't know what he's doing, my biggest thing is don't start saying that until at least year 4, which is 2 years from now for him. Let him get his guys in. Let him have his seniors. And then by year 4, if that offensive line isn't looking at as it should and isn't in the place that it should be, then sure, bring it up. Talk about it, because that's on him. That's not getting his guys. That's not bringing in his players.
Do we give coaches that long anymore now that the portal exists? Because you don't.
Well, at Clemson, because they don't use the portal. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And I guess it's not up to Thomas Austin if he's going to use the portal or not, right? It's up to people above him.
That's right. So that would be my kind of biggest critique there. And
is just the youth?
It's just you. I mean, look, they have a true or a redshirt freshman starting at left tackle. They have a true sophomore starting at right tackle. They had a true freshman starting at left guard. Like it just injuries and just don't have guys. I mean, it's learning literally as you see it. Now that's not an excuse. The offensive line has not played well. Like those guys have to figure it out, have to get stronger, have to get bigger, understand techniques and apply that. Don't just be taught that, apply that to the game. Because that is frustrating, on a 3rd and 1 and you can't score a touchdown. On a 3rd and 1, you're running a pass play. That's because you're not showing them throughout the game that you can handle it.
Or because you fumble.
Or because you fumble. So those are things that I kind of would like to see there. again, I do think that there's some injuries, some guys being kind of forced into action that aren't quite ready. And so you talk about how can you improve that position. It is so difficult. You got to go through the fire. That's just, there is no way around it. It's not just a magical, I'm going to learn how to catch the ball. It's a magical, I'm going to learn how to stop this guy from wanting to kill my quarterback. Like, offensive line is the only position, KG, in all of sport where your only job is to prevent other people from hurting your guy, whether that's a running back, a quarterback, whatever it is. That's your only job, is to be a protector. And so it's difficult. And there's a lot of stuff that is hard with that. But again, not an excuse. Those guys, they have to play better.
And again, it's not Mac's fault. Okay, let's get to our North Carolina question here. This is from Steve Wah, 01738-304. Steve, is that your phone number? I don't know.
Steve, you a bot, man. This isn't a real question. Come on.
He says, us UNC fans need some cheering up after last week's collapse. Georgia Tech is a must win. Yeah. Do you think Drake and the Heels respond?
Please, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, please respond. I hope so. But here's the deal. Atlanta has been a house of horrors, KG.
It has, yes.
Them boys ain't winning in Atlanta.
Georgia Tech in general.
Weird. Yeah, it's just tough for them. I think it's, man, somebody said the stat today and Wes confirmed it. I think it's like 2 of 10, or maybe two of the last 10 they have won in Atlanta. I think that's correct. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. It's something bad, though. They can't win in Atlanta. That's crazy. But here's the deal. Georgia Tech's defense is horrific. They are so bad. And I just have to think the way the game ended, upset, angry, offense wasn't playing great, defense certainly wasn't playing good, that those guys want to respond, kind of make a big type of, kind of statement game, KG. And again, at the end of the day, listen, North Carolina was in position to win. They probably could have ran the ball way more. Not probably, they could have ran the ball way more, and maybe that game's over. Maybe it doesn't get to where Virginia has more opportunities. They completely abandoned the run. They did not give the ball to Marianne Hampton. Georgia Tech is giving up 230 yards per game. If Marianne Hampton doesn't touch the ball 25 plus times, fire the staff. Like, that's just crazy. It's unbelievable. I'm kind of kidding. But yeah, they should respond. They should absolutely respond.
They should. I think they will. Here's the thing. Was that loss incredibly disappointing? Yes. Are all your goals still in front of you? Yes, they are. Now, are you making the playoff with a loss to Virginia? Probably not. But did we think you were making a playoff before? Probably not. But can you make the ACC Championship game?
Yeah.
And who knows? Who knows what happens in that game? Yes, you still can.
That's right. And if you win it, you're in the playoff. Come on. I'm not abandoning ship.
With a loss to Virginia?
I don't care. We lost to Pitt, and Pitt was terrible, and we still won it. And guess what?
It was 8-4.
When we lost to them in 16?
No, but they finished 8-4 that year.
Yeah, maybe. How do you remember that? That was
Virginia has 2 wins.
That was pretty quick. How do you remember that? Is that true?
I don't know.
I'm going to fact check you.
Here's the thing, and I was telling this to Kelsey Briggs the other day. My brain can remember so many odd things, but I cannot remember my wallet when I leave the house. That's where I am.
That is a killer.
This is my life.
I'm fact checking as you speak.
Are you checking me?
Yeah,
they're 8-4.
Keep going. Keep going. Do your thing. Don't worry about me.
I'm pretty confident. Okay, let's get to this NC State question from at Wolfpack ENG 1984. Were they
8-5? Lost in the bowl game, but very good. Wow.
They're 8-4.
Super impressive. Super impressive.
I got you.
Sorry, I doubted you. That was brutal.
I got you. Now, where are my keys? Good question. Okay. NC State. This is for Wolfpack ENG 1984. Will NC State win enough games to become bowl eligible? Mac, I'm going to start this question off. I don't think NC State makes a bowl. When I look at their remaining schedule, they are currently 4-3. And they have, by the way, their wins, Connecticut, VMI, Virginia, and Marshall. They have Clemson this weekend.
Easy dub. Definitely.
Yeah, at home. They're a 10-point dog. And if the game is seen by no one, does it happen? It's on the CW network. Then they have Miami at home. They're at Wake. They're at Virginia Tech. They're at home against North Carolina. I mean, they have to win 2 of these. And I don't think that happens. I don't think they beat Miami at home. I think they win at Wake. And I don't think they win at Virginia Tech, and I don't think they beat North Carolina.
Give me this, KG. Give me Wake Forest. And give me Clemson or Carolina. Give it to me. Give it to me. I'm telling you. One of them. They're going to get.
They're going to win this weekend?
It's the typical go ACC weekend. It's going to happen. And it's going to be in NC State. I say they go bowling. By the skin of their teeth, I say they go bowling.
Who's the quarterback in the bowl game?
MJ Morris, my guy, the GOAT.
Right.
Who's going to catch the passes? That's the crazier thing. Concepcion is going to go for like 1,000 yards. All right, let me ask you this. Let me flip this question to you because I think this is very intriguing.
Okay.
If they don't make a bowl game, and my guy is on a crazy pace right now when you see what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball and just at a super high rate, Peyton Wilson is on track for like 200 tackles. If they don't go to a bowl game and are 5-6, 5-7, whatever it is, can he still be Defensive Player of the Year?
That's a great question.
Interesting, right?
Can he still be the ACC Defensive Player of the Year?
On a horrible team.
Oh, I mean, maybe. That's such a bad answer.
I think it's locked up. I think he's got it, no matter what.
Wow.
I think he has it. He's playing.
When is the last time an ACC Defensive Player of the Year was on a team that did not make a bowl game? Has it ever happened?
We'll get stats and info and research on that.
Man, that would be fascinating.
Would be fascinating.
We're going to look into that.
I've also heard a lot of people talking first round with him, which is amazing. Amazing if that happens.
Wow.
We'll see.
Guy who's given everything he has for NC State, for sure.
Literally.
Okay, Mac, we're going a little long, so let's just go quick. These last two questions here. Syracuse, this is from Leo Dog, with two G's, 15.
Poor Leo.
Cuse, are they a good team that just hit a tough stretch? Clemson, UNC, Florida State? Or a bad team that got exposed? There are 3 losses. Clemson 31-14 at home, at North Carolina 40-7, at Florida State 41-3. Mac, I tend to think they are not a bad team, but not a good team.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle. The defense has been concerning.
Are they going bowling? Are they going bowling?
The defense has been really concerning. They have 4 wins, right?
Yeah.
Syracuse does?
Yeah.
So they just need to get 2?
Just need to.
As I'm pulling up their schedule right now, are they going bowling? They helped themselves big time early on with those non-conference wins. They're at Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. I don't think they win tonight. BC at home, Pitt at home, Wake at home. At Georgia Tech. Oh, man. Mac, this is hard. It's hard to say yes because I feel like we have to go through and look at who all these teams are playing because I have BC making a bowl and I have Virginia Tech making a bowl.
I know.
I'm going to say no. I'm so negative tonight. I'm so negative tonight.
Nancy. I'm going to say yes. I think they win 2 of the last 3. I think they Pitt, Georgia Tech, Wake. I think they figured that out.
Okay.
I don't know. You might lose 5 in a row, though. You might lose 5 in a row, which is crazy.
Man,
and then you might
that's
lose
just tough to bounce
6
back
in a
from.
row, and then you win 2. Who knows? I don't know.
That is
I don't
tough
think
to
you're a
bounce
bad
back from.
team. I just think there's a real lack of depth. I think when your 2 best receivers got hurt, that really put the wayside the team there. I just think it's a depth thing. I mean, people can wear down Cuse really easily. And the unfortunateness of the transfer portal. 2 of your best players left that were on this defense that would have been very impactful. So I think it's just a tough situation. I don't think you're a bad team. I think it's
the defense has been disappointing. I'll say that.
They have. Yeah.
Last one from Jane N. I just thought this question was funny. I didn't watch the game, but how the hell did Virginia beat North Carolina?
Come on, Jane. Jane, watch the game. Unbelievable. Do you know who Jane was a fan of?
I know Jane. She's a friend of mine. She responded on Instagram. Jane. Yes, I know Jane. She lives in Charlottesville. She's a Virginia fan, but she didn't watch the game because she's like, this team's terrible. And then she said they won, and she's like, how the heck? How the heck did this happen?
She's a who, and she didn't watch
the
who. Game.
Yeah. Maybe she'll watch this week, Matt, because they won.
Unbelievable. Here's how they won the game.
You answered it earlier. UNC didn't run the ball.
Very true. But you know who did run the ball? Virginia.
Yes.
Outside zone. That team effort was bonkers. I mean, it was not like some crazy Herculean effort from one guy. Quarterback goes for 500 and a million touchdowns. It was everybody.
It wasn't fluky. Like, it didn't look fluky.
No, it wasn't
That's
fluky.
what
It
was
was, we're going
crazy.
to punch you over and over again. And I mean, it was awesome to watch. Their plan of attack, they never quit. I mean, I talked to their play-by-play guy on radio this week, and he said when Mike Hollins ran into the end zone one of those last times and fumbled it out, he just sat down and was just like, this team is cursed. This team's cursed. There's just nothing that we can do, because he thought North Carolina was going to walk down and win the game.
Yeah.
And we know that did not happen, and they found a way. So big shout out, Coachy. First time ever on the road, top 10 victory ever for Virginia. Super amazing. And just a team. I mean, a team that believed, a team that never quit. And you got to give them all the credit in the world, KG.
I'll just add, you say a team that never quit. I feel like UNC kind of thought they would quit.
Sure.
Especially in the second half when UNC took, I think, a 3-point lead. Thought they would quit.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And UNC couldn't finish drives. They settled for a couple field goals, and they didn't run the ball. And that was definitely an issue for them.
Tough. This was fun. These were great questions.
Great mailbag, people.
You did a great job, KG, of going through the millions of mails that we got and figuring out like a top 15, top 20. Millions of letters. They were everywhere. But yeah, super fun. Appreciate you guys getting in. Some of that got really real, really quick. But it was fun, though. It was a lot of fun, and it was cool. And guess what? We will be back tomorrow. Can't wait. We're going to break it down. Massive weekend, impactful weekend, elimination weekend for some. Can't wait to break it all down. We're going to give you some picks. We're going to recover from last week. Last week was average for me. KG, I don't remember where you finished, but I'm going to do better. We're going to win some money.
Good.
Not good. Okay, we both didn't do good. If I promise your mortgage on one of these bets, listen to me this time. I got you. Double mortgages. We're killing it right now.
Double or nothing.
That's right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Big shout out to Ingles, our friends over there, for making all this possible. But we need your help. We need you to go over to YouTube, see KG forget that Michigan and Ohio State both made the playoff, see me literally stare at the camera and think of how I want to answer a question before I do. It's a lot of fun. You don't want to miss it. So we need your help there. Subscribe, jump in, leave some comments. A lot of fun. Of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you guys. Again, subscribe over there and rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.